Hello, Tashitale. Welcome to Dharma Sharing. I hope you are doing well. And today we are going to continue to understand more about these 6 different trainings or 6 paramitas, the trainings in the aspiration and engaged bodhicitta, and especially emphasizing on the action bodhicitta or engaged bodhicitta. Obviously, after giving rise to bodhicitta, and the very genuine wish to attain complete and perfect enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, we need to train in the trainings. We need to implement the trainings so that we'll be able to, accomplish that goal, the goal of attainment of the complete and perfect Buddhahood, and also to benefit all sentient beings. So, just by making prayers is not enough. So we need to really engage, in the action, bodhicitta. If you are able to do that, if you are able to train in the 6 paramitas, then only you will be able to fulfill your wishes, fulfill your wish of having attainment of complete and perfect Buddhahood, and to benefit sentient beings. So that is why it is very important to train in these different trainings. And before we train, we should know how to train in this path, how to train in 6 paramitas. And in order to do so, we first need to hear the instructions on these 6 different paramitas, especially here by GAMPOPA in the Jewel Ornament of Liberation. And then once we hear these instructions, and then we should investigate ourselves whether these teachings to really reflect on your intellectual findings, or to this really teaching really makes you sense, to this teaching really are relevant in our society, into our day-to-day life, in tackling our emotions in our day-to-day life. So you need to have confirmation, and that is the second stage, where we call contemplating on the teachings and the meaning of the teaching. And then finally, when you get confirmations of these teachings, when you see really these teachings are very meaningful and effectful, then you apply them. And this is how we progress and process further in the practice of the Dharma. Okay. So before we start today's session, let us recite the rapish prayers. Sangye chodang zoge chonam la jangjo bardo dane gyab sonche dage jinso gebe sonam ge dola benje sangye drobar sho sangye chodang zoge chonam la jangjo bardo dane gyab sonche dage jinso gebe sonam ge dola benje sangye drobar sho sangye chodang zoge chonam la jangjo bardo dane gyab sonche Nage jinso gebe sonam ge dola benje sangye drobar sho sangye chodang zoge chonam la jangjo bardo dane gyab sonche nage jinso gebe sonam ge dola benje sangye drobar sho semje tamje dewa dan dewen gyo dan dembar gyo je dongan dan dongan ge gyo dan dewa gyo je dongan mebe dewa dan ba dan me dewa gyo je ngeren cha dan ye dan dewen dan yon jen bola ne bar gyo je semje tamje dewa dan dewen gyo dan dembar gyo je dongan dan dongan ge gyo dan dewa gyo je dongan mebe dewa dan ba dan me dewa gyo je ngeren cha dan ye dan dewen dan yon jen bola ne bar gyo je semje tamje dewa dan dewen gyo dan dembar gyo je dongan dan dongan ge gyo dan dewa gyo je dongan mebe dewa dan ba dan me dewa gyo je ngeren cha dan ye dan dewen dan yon jen bola ne bar gyo je bolen sa ye lama rinpo je da gi churu be me den sho la Kadin chenpe gwane je sonde kusung toge ngodo zando so. Okay, so every time before we listen to the Dharma, or before we do any kind of Dharma practices, whether it is listening the Dharma or recitations of the mantras or meditation, we always need to examine our intention, our motivation. This is very important. And obviously, because we are still being as an ordinary being, we may have different types of negative afflictions and emotions that are taking place within our mind. So every time it is our responsibility to have mindfulness of what you are thinking, to be mindful of what your acts are through body, speech and mind. And especially in this regard, we need to check our motivation, whether our motivation to involve of self-center or considerations of name, fame, wealth and so on and so forth for oneself. So if you find such kind of motivation, then you need to clarify and purify those motivations, and you need to refresh your bodhicitta. You need to renew your bodhicitta, thinking that by seeing the suffering of samsara, you develop compassion. You cannot bear the suffering of samsara, suffering in sentient beings. So because of that reason, you really want to free them from the suffering of samsara. And in order to do so, the best way is to apply the remedy. And the best remedy here, the medicine, is the dharma. And among the different dharmas, the trainings in engaged bodhicitta are one of the best means, one of the best path, one of the best trainings that one can apply in order to accomplish the goal of benefiting others. Okay, so we always need to examine our motivation, and always need to refresh ourselves, and always need to generate loving kindness and compassion towards all sentient beings. So when you do so, it will not only benefit others, but it will also bring us some kind of peaceful state of mind within yourself that will bring you kind of happiness, joyfulness, state of mind, which are a wonderful thing to experience. If you are troubled by worries, anxiety, stress, then it is not healthy. You're not healthy, and since if you are mentally unsecure, or if you are mentally unhappy, then obviously it do affects your body. So therefore, in order to remain yourself healthy, mentally healthy and physically healthy, we need to train in these 6 trainings, and whereby we'll be able to free ourselves from the suffering of mental stress, mental sorrow, as well as we can free others, by just giving hand. For example, practice of the first paramitas, the generosity, being generous to others, will also heal their sufferings. Remember, if you have wealth, obviously you share your wealth so that you can able to satisfy other beings. You can able to free their hunger and thirst, and or whatever are needed for them. You will be there for them. So that is one of kind of generosity, by giving wealth. And remember, there are another 2 types of generosity: giving fearlessness or protection through your body, and giving the dharma. So these are very wonderful practice of generosity. If you really apply them, it will not only benefit others, but it will also benefit yourself at the same time, without expectation. It automatically brings a kind of happiness within yourself too, kind of satisfaction within yourself. So remember, yesterday, the last session, we did talk about Buddha mentioning that we do have these 5 ratnas, or 5 jewels within ourselves. Even though if you are lacking of wealth, you can still practice generosity through all these 5 different beautiful jewels that we have, by giving at least a smile to others, which will change their day, or just listening to their sufferings, being there for them, and giving them time, and listening, simply remaining there calm and quiet, and just listening their sorrow will also will give a big relief to those individuals. Those, they can express their sufferings, and then you are there to listen for them. You are giving time, you are giving them attention. These are always, you can always do these kind of things. And as well as using your lips, praising others, praising their qualities, praising Buddha's activities, and so on and so forth, to kind of encourage different people who are falling down, encouraging them, those who are discouraged by many different means in their life. So there are wonderful things that you can always share for others' benefit. Okay, so today we are going to talk about the second type of paramita, that is known as Shila paramita, or moral ethics or morality. And this Buddha said, if you want to have a good body, or if you want to have a good rebirth, especially the rebirth of the precious human body, then you must practice moral ethics. This is the main cause for that. Remember, earlier was, if you want to have a good wealth, then the main root or the root cause for that is practicing generosity, practicing giving. And this second paramita is the main cause for having good rebirth, good body, good precious human body. So we need to practice this moral ethic in order to have better rebirths, in order to free ourselves from experiencing of the suffering of three lower realms, especially three lower realms. So that if you have a wish to attain good rebirth and do not want to experience the suffering of three lower realms, animal realm, hungry ghost realm, and hell realms, then we must practice moral ethics. Okay, and the Sanskrit term for this, as I mentioned earlier, is the Shila paramita, and Shila meaning translated as something kind of a little bit of kind of break from suffering, or cool when you are feeling tired, when you're walking or jogging, when you're going for long trek, and then once you see there's a tree, and you rest under that tree, and there's a cool breeze, and you feel so relaxed and peaceful. Likewise here, since from the beginning last time we have been engaging in all this non-virtuous act, so because of that reason we are continuously experiencing different types of suffering. But now, with the enlightenment of these instructions of the Shila paramita, the second paramita, which encourage us to refrain ourselves from involvement of those 10 non-virtuous acts, which will cut the root of the experiencing of the suffering in the three lower realms, and which will protect us from involvement of the cause of those three lower realms. And when you are able to do so, when you are able to practice this second paramita, then it is a break from the experiencing of suffering. So you are taking a break from experiencing of suffering, and you are also taking a break from involving or accumulating the cause of non-virtuous act. Cause that is the non-virtuous act, that is the cause of the suffering of lower realms. So that is why it's translated as a cool or coolness, Shila paramita. And Shila here, paramita, is kind of an internal awareness, where you have internal ethical commitment, where you have made internal ethical commitment, saying that from today, by knowing the reason, logic, you have to be very logical here. By knowing the reason, it is not good to take someone's life, and because of that reason, you see there's a suffering if you take someone's life. So by seeing that, you avoid taking lives of others, you refrain from taking lives of others, and you make commitment saying that from today I will not kill any beings, any sentient beings. And this is what kind of internal commitment that you are making, with full awareness, with full kind of volunteer interest, not by force of external phenomena, but internally within yourself, you're longing, you have interest, and you know why it is important. So therefore you are taking a commitment of not killing, and this is kind of internal ethical commitment, with full awareness, obviously, and according to one's commitment, in order to reach the perfect enlightenment, or you can call this like according to one's commitment to the path of liberation. I want to free myself from the suffering of samsara. So therefore I don't want to I want to refrain from the cause of suffering of samsara, that is involvement of the 10 non-virtuous acts, and therefore I take commitment myself that I will, from today, I will not engage in the 10 non-virtuous acts. This kind of sincerity, with full awareness, and taking a commitment for yourself by knowing the reason why you are doing it, seeing the beautiful beneficial effects of taking this commitment, and also seeing the what you call faults of not making this commitment, or you can say you can see the reflections of the shortcomings if you engage in the non-virtuous act. So you do need to have a discriminating knowledge here, to know what is good and what is bad, to know what is right and what is wrong. So if you are able to see in this way, then you are also freeing yourself from the ignorance. Without having discriminating knowledge, people follow, people act spontaneously, without thinking, without wisdom, and people just, sometimes it's very sad to see that people are taking someone's life just for entertainment. This is a great mistake, a great ignorance. You should have sense of concern, sense of care. You should have feeling of the importance of the other's life. Therefore, the great master in the past also said that take your body as example and do not harm others. What does that mean? That means that you witness the suffering. If someone hits you, or if someone says something bad to you, you have the feeling of how it hurts. The feeling of suffering, the feeling of uncomfortableness, the feeling of unpleasure. So take that as example. Then do not harm others. That's very reasonable. You really feel this and it is not comfortable, so you don't want to give that same uncomfortableness, suffering to others. So that is why take yourself as a body as an example, and then do not harm others' body or others' mind. And at least if you can't help them, then at least respect their life, respect their happiness, and at least do not harm others. So this is how you keep your moral ethics. Okay. So the second paramita, chapter 13, the perfections of moral ethics. The summary. So GAMPOPA want to present this chapter, this second type of paramita, in the same manner that he presented in the first paramita, with these 7 different points. Reflections on the faults of not practicing moral ethics, and reflections on the virtues of practicing moral ethics. That's the first one. Definition of moral ethics, second. Third one is the classifications of moral ethics. Fourth is the characteristics of each of classifications of moral ethic. Then next is how to increase moral ethic. Then next is the perfections of moral ethic. How can you make your moral ethic a perfected moral ethic? And finally, the 7th is the result, the beneficial effects or the results of by practicing the moral ethic. So in the same manner, these 7 comprise the perfections of moral ethics. So the first one, reflections on the faults of not practicing moral ethic, and the reflections on the virtues of practicing moral ethic. So this is again, discriminating knowledge. What is good, what is bad, what happens if you practice moral ethics, and what happens if you do not practice moral ethics. What are the advantages of practicing moral ethics, and what are the disadvantages or shortcomings of not practicing moral ethic, being unethical. Okay, so even though you may have practiced the first paramita, generosity, you will not achieve the perfect body of the gods and human beings if you do not have moral ethics. So he wants to link this with the first paramita. Obviously, if you practice first paramita, you will have good wealth, but then if you have not practiced the second paramita, then you will not be able to have good body of humans and God, or in other words, you will not have a good rebirth. Maybe you will experience taking birth in three lower realms, in animal realms, hungry ghost realms, hell realms. You can see there are some beings who are born as animal in animal realm, but they are having luxurious life. Those dogs, those fortunate dogs, those fortunate cats, pets, animals, those who have luxurious life, who have everything provided by their owners. Even better, some of them are even better than human beings. They really enjoy luxurious life. But then, since they are born as an animal, in the animal realm, they are ignorant, they can't express, they can't talk, so they are also suffering there, not knowing how to express their feelings, just like we do, through speech, and also having kind of less of opportunity of intelligence. So those in particular beings who are born as animal but with a very kind of luxurious life, you can call them that they have practiced generosity but not moral ethic. Therefore they have a good wealth, but then they don't have the perfect body or perfect realm, so to speak. Okay, so engaging in the middle way says, even if one achieves wealth through generosity, the being who breaks his leg of moral ethic will fall into lower realms. Without the practice of moral ethics, you will not meet the Dharma teachings. Obviously, if you want to listen to the Dharma, the best vessel, like GAMPOPA said in the beginning, the best working basis is the precious human body. So in order to practice the Dharma, the best working body is the human being, or precious human body. So therefore, you need to have precious human body in order to receive Dharma, practice Dharma, hear the Dharma, contemplate the meaning of the Dharma, and implement this Dharma into your day-to-day life. So in order to do so, you need to have a body of either human or God realms. That's why, remember last time when you talk about the precious human body, what are the requirements, the qualities, how can you call this body as a precious human body, what are the qualities that should be involved, So generally you need to be free from three lower realms, isn't it? Okay. So the Possessing Moral Ethics Sutra says, for example, a person without sight cannot see forms. A blind person cannot see form. Likewise, a person without moral ethic will not see the Dharma teachings. Yes, in order to receive Dharma teachings, you need to have a precious human body, or sometimes body of the gods. So I think some Nagas are able to do so, but not majority of them. Very, very rare number of Nagas. Otherwise, we need to have this precious human body, or the body of the gods, in order to hear the Dharma and practice the Dharma. Again, without moral ethics, you cannot be freed from the three worlds of samsara. Obviously, if you want to free yourself from the suffering of samsara, especially the lower realms, you need to practice moral ethics. You cannot expect, freeing yourself from the suffering of samsara while you are engaging in the 10 non-virtuous acts. Not possible. This is illogical. You are expecting some good result, but without implementing the cause of that result. How can you expect that? Not possible. Or even going contradictory to that result. You want to see happiness, but you are implementing the non-virtuous act. How can that lead you to the happiness? There's no possibilities. You are in the wrong direction. For example, a person without feet cannot walk on a road. Likewise, a person without moral ethics cannot be liberated. So therefore, we need to have moral ethics. We need to practice moral ethics. Again, without moral ethics, you are missing the path of enlightenment, and so will not achieve the unsurpassable enlightenment. Yes, if you are missing the path that leads to enlightenment, then how can you expect to reach that final destination? That's not possible. So, in order to free yourself from the lower realms or from samsara, and in order to reach the perfect nirvana, we need to practice moral ethics. We need to be free from the origin of suffering, the cause of suffering. And the cause of suffering are, negative afflictions and emotions. And negative afflictions, are the three mental non-virtuous act. And because of that three mental non-virtuous, we express them through our body and our speech. So therefore, if you apply or if you engage in 10 non-virtuous acts, then you cannot enter into the gate of the Dharma. And if you do not enter into the gate of the Dharma, then you cannot expect reaching that final destination. On the other hand, if you achieve the perfect body, when you have more, on the other hand, you will achieve the perfect body of the human and gods when you have moral ethics, when you practice moral ethics. Then what happens is that you are protecting yourself from engagement of non-virtuous act. So when you're protected by yourself, there's no other someone who is protecting you. Always remember this. In Buddhism, you should be the protector of yourself. Obviously, there need to be some guidance. Our spiritual masters, our companions, Sangha members, obviously, but they are temporarily. They just guide you. They just show you the path. But it is you who really need to walk on that path. So that is why you can protect yourself from engaging in the 10 non-virtuous act. No one can do on your behalf, isn't it? So therefore, you should make the commitments of not involving in 10 non-virtuous act. You should make commitment from refraining, from this 10 non-virtuous act, and that is what is known as keeping moral ethics, practicing moral ethics. By respecting someone's life, then you commit yourself of not taking their lives. Respecting the truthful speech, therefore you commit yourself that not to tell lie. Likewise, to respect others' belongings, then you commit yourself of not stealing or fooling others. Likewise, respecting the harmonies between the friends, between the Sangha members, between the nations, between the society. So you commit yourself not to speak divisive speeches, not to give false speeches, not to give rise to doubt among the friendships, sincere friendships, to not try to break good friendships, to not try to destroy harmonies in the community, by using divisive speeches. Therefore, you commit yourself not to use divisive speech, because you see the reason why. You see the disadvantages of using the divisive speeches. You are making destroying peaceful environment of community and society. You are dividing them into two, which then makes quarrels and disputes and disharmonies and fights and wars and so forth. So therefore, you know these reasons, you know these disadvantages, you reflect on the faults of this, and so you give yourself a commitment not to use divisive speech, and that is what is the reflections of virtues of that. If you instead you should be mediator for those who are in conflict. You should be a key person, middle person, to make them friendship, bring them closer, listen to both of their point of view, and finding a common kind of stand for both of them, which benefits both of them. Not in the either extreme way. So this is how you developed your moral ethics, and we should be encouraged to do so. Okay, even it is a very small thing, just between two friends, if you're able to bring them closer, dispel their doubts, or misunderstandings, unnecessary claims, and if you're able to be the mediator for them, that is already a very good accumulation of merit, and that is already a giving of good moral ethics. So these are few examples. Okay, so the condensed perfections of Wisdom Sutra says, through moral ethics one will avoid the rebirth of animals and so forth, animals, hungry ghosts, and hell realms, and one will be free from 8 unfavorable conditions. Remember those unfavorable conditions that were mentioned in the precious human body, and will always find leisure. So they are always perfect timing, are free from suffering, then they are having leisure time. Otherwise, if you are continuously suffering because of your involvement in the cause of suffering, then you never have leisure time for yourself. You are always overpowered by negative afflictions and emotions. You are always experiencing different types of suffering of change, suffering of suffering, and suffering of all-pervading suffering. So therefore, you never will have chance of leisure time. So if you practice moral ethics, then yes, you will be able to have cool break time. That is what Shila Paramita means. You can have a community. You can take a break from experiencing of the suffering, a continuous suffering. Okay. When you have moral ethics, you can establish the foundation for all the goodness and happiness. That's very true, because you are keeping good conduct. You are practicing 10 virtuous acts, and virtuous acts are the root cause for happiness, whereas unvirtuous act or 10 non-virtuous are the cause of suffering. So obviously, if you avoid non-virtuous act, and if you implement in virtuous act, if you engage in virtuous act, then you are closer to happiness, you're closer to goodness. It will be the foundation for your goodness and happiness, and slowly you'll be able to, you'll become closer to the Buddha and Bodhisattvas. You are going to closer to the directions of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and finally you'll be able to reach that destinations of perfect and complete happiness or enlightenment. When you have moral ethics, you can establish the foundations of all goodness and happiness. The letter to a friend by Nagarjuna says, just as the ground is basis for the motions and stillness, so moral ethic is the basis for all the excellent qualities. When you have moral ethics, it is like fertilized ground. Then you'll be able to experience lots of good results from that. On that basis of moral ethic, all the crops of good qualities like Buddha's quality, clairvoyance, different types of samadhi, for attentiveness, for awareness, 5 powers, 5 strengths, and all these qualities, 37 bodhi factors, can establish within that basis of moral ethic. Okay. Engaging in the middle way, Sutra says, when all the good qualities increases in the field of moral ethics, one can enjoy the result without ceasing. Obviously, if you are engaging in the good moral ethics, good conduct, good mental thought, good speech, good physical action, obviously you will be experiencing wonderful results from that continuously, because you are implementing the cause continuously, then you will never end or conclude experiencing the happiness from that as a result of that. Without ceasing, you'll be able to experience happiness without ceasing, because you're implementing the cause of that happiness without ceasing as well. Remember, okay? When you have moral ethics, you'll reach the multiple doors to meditative concentrations. Yes, if you practice moral ethics, you'll be more calm, more gentle, more awareness. You'll enjoy, or you'll prepare to live a simple life with respect to others qualities, others' life, others' education, others' wealth, and without harming them, without cheating them, without having greed or jealousy towards them. Then you'll be able to maintain your peace and happiness. You'll be able to maintain your stillness of mind, or peaceful state of mind, and that will bring you closer to the samadhi, or the meditation state, or concentrations. The Moon Lamp Sutra says one will quickly achieve unafflicted meditative concentrations. This is the beneficial effect of pure moral ethics. Okay? When you have moral ethics, you will accomplish everything for which you have set aspirations, prayers. So this is very true, because obviously we first make aspirations. Oh, may all sentient beings be happy. May I have good health and long life. May my guru have good health and long life. May my parents and family have successful business, good health, less pain, less suffering. We all have these wonderful aspirations, don't we? Yes, we do. Wherever we go, especially when you go for pilgrimage or retreat, wherever you will see temple, we go there and do prostrations. Then first thing we ask is, may I be happy, may my family be happy, may my children pass the exams, may my company go well, all these things, we wish, we all make all these wishes. We hardly wish that may all sentient beings be happy and have the happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and cause of suffering. We hardly wish them. First, our priority will always go for yourself or your family members, your dear and near ones, the one your gurus or your friends, your sangha members, and so on and so forth. That's still very good. Not the best compared with the bodhicitta. After a while, you need to be more open. You need to be more generous. That not only thinking of yourself, but also benefiting all sentient beings, because that is your ambition. That is your final goal. But I'm talking generally as ordinary being. Whenever we visit temples or whenever we visit Rinpoches, our gurus, we always ask for something for us, considerations for our good health, long life, passing exams, having good company, relationship with your couples, and all this that are temporarily, which we have valued so important, which we have labeled them as a most important thing in our life, obviously. So we always ask for ourselves. We ask for more protection for our business and so on and so forth. So all these aspirations, will become true only if you implement moral ethics. That's what he's trying to say here. See, I will read this once again. For one who keeps pure moral ethics, all aspirations, prayers will be accomplished. When you have moral ethics, you will accomplish everything for which you have set aspirations, prayers. Otherwise, it will be only aspiration. How can you expect something good without implementing its cause? How can you expect you have a rice without planting a rice, or without buying a rice? is not magical. So likewise, all these wonderful aspirations, all these wonderful prayers that you made, you will only see them in result if you implement the cause for that. So therefore, again, it is you who accumulates merits. It is you who protect yourself from engagement in the non-virtuous act. It is you who is protecting yourself from falling down into the lower realms. So that is why Buddha said, you are the protector of yourself. And how can you protect? But you can protect yourself through your creation of karma, your involvement of, in the 10 virtuous act, your refraining or avoiding of the 10 non-virtuous act. And this is your action. This is your karma. This is your creation. You are trying to create a energy there, a positive energy or negative energy. It depends on you. And in order to differentiate what is good energy that we need to create and what is bad energy that we need to avoid, eliminate, that depends on your discriminating knowledge, isn't it? And after having that discriminating knowledge, you can develop your discriminating knowledge through hearing the Dharma, and second, through contemplating its meaning, and finally, if it reflects on your idea, if it really becomes relevant to you, then only you are going to engage in this karma. So you create energy and you adapt this energy, and you also share this energy towards your family and friends. So therefore it is very important that you create good positive energies that will benefit yourself and others. Please remember not to create a bad energy that will destroy yourself, your life, and life of others which are associated with you. Therefore, 10 virtuous acts are the good energy that one is encouraged to do, and 10 non-virtuous acts are the bad energy that is, that should be discarded. We are encouraged to discard bad energy, and we are encouraged to accumulate good energy. Thereby, it will make our life happier and life of others who are associated with you. It will bring harmonious, peaceful state of mind, yourself and others. And this is how we progress. This is how we can go forward in the practice of the Dharma. So, moral ethic is very important. Practicing, disciplining yourself is very important. If you do not discipline yourself, discipline your body, discipline bodily action, discipline your verbal speech, discipline your mental thought. Try to maintain or create positive mental thoughts, positive speech, positive physical action. Try to, eliminate or dispel or avoid creating of negative mental thoughts, negative verbal speeches, and negative physical appearances of fighting, quarreling, beating, so on and so forth. So therefore, disciplining yourself is the most important thing in our life. Then we can see the differences. Otherwise, without discipline, you can be like everything will go mess. You do not know what's good and what's bad. You'll be like drunken. You act, you'll say whatever you want, you'll think or whatever you want, you'll act whatever you want, or you speak whatever you want, without any kind of concern, without any kind of carefulness, without any kind of mindfulness. Then it is mass. Then it will bring unhappiness. Okay, so maintaining discipline, practicing moral ethics is very, very important. And so forth. So the same sutra says, the meeting of the father and son sutra says, pure moral ethics bear great beneficial effects. Because of that, it is not difficult to establish enlightenment. If you practice pure morality, pure moral ethics, then it is easier for us to practice bodhisattva way of life, to witness Buddhahood, to go in the path of liberation. Because we are protected, we are secure. And who did that security for you? You yourself did. You yourself have provided security for yourself. Therefore, you are protected. There's no risk of downfalls, because you have committed to remain in good discipline, to remain in good conduct, to remain in this 10 virtuous act. So therefore, you are certain to experience Buddhahood or enlightenment, and so forth. There are many great qualities of practicing moral ethics. Possessing Moral Ethics Sutra says, one who has moral ethics will meet the Buddha when he appears. One who has a moral ethics has the supreme ornament of all. So these are all good qualities. One who has moral ethics in the sources of is the sources of all joy. One who keeps the moral ethics is praised by the whole world, and so forth. Obviously, if someone has good conduct, if someone always thinks positive, if someone always thinks of others, if someone always speaks more generally, nicely, softly, with care and concern for others, if someone who always be there physically and see others individual as their own brothers and sisters, always have concern for them, would look at the sentient beings with the compassionate eye, and always willing to help through this physical body to free others from suffering of samsara, then obviously this kind of individual will be respected by whole world. Unfortunately, there are very few such kind of person. But Buddha said we need to develop this kind of person, and through these teachings, otherwise we have no chances. That is why we need to give proper education to our children. That is why His Holiness the Dalai Lama is now at this age, he is trying his best to bring these wonderful instructions, teachings of the Buddha into modern education, into government education system in India, working together with the Indian government. Ancient Indian wisdoms which talk about the value of compassion, value of kindness, value of forgiveness. These teachings are we cannot find these teachings in modern education. So therefore His Holiness is trying to enrich modern education with ancient wisdoms of Indians, spiritual masters founded by Buddha. So if you are able to, in your family, if you're able to give this kind of education, moral ethics, importance of others, care and concern for others, not only teaching them competition. If you only teach them competition, they will become like them. They always compete with others. They think whatever, if they can grab from others, that's okay, that's good thing. And this is how their life ends, with defeating others, with challenging others, with competitions of others, which then is unfortunate. By this they will not experience internal joy or happiness of kindness and compassion, concern and forgiveness. So therefore it is very important that we should educate our children the importance of moral ethics as well, together with moral education, obviously. Now the second presentation here is the definitions of Shila Paramita. The definitions of moral ethic has 4 different qualities. the Bodhisattva Bhumi says, one should understand that the definitions of moral ethics has 4 different qualities. So what are these 4 different qualities then? Taking precepts perfectly from others. Okay, so moral ethic, as I mentioned earlier, we need to keep a kind of commitment. We need to make a commitment saying, oh, taking others' life is not good. You see the faults of taking others' life, then you refrain from that taking life, and then you make commitment yourself. Oh, from today I will not take others' life of others. And this is what it means by here. The first one is taking precepts perfectly from others. Others meaning here, it can be your guru or sangha members or your teachers. That is why we have this system, a culture, a traditional way of taking refuge vows, as well as this patimoksha vows. Oh, from today, in front of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and especially in front of my root teacher or guru, I will not take life of others until I die. This is kind of traditional way of taking vows, keeping precepts, taking precepts. So there are different type of precepts: bodily precepts, verbal precepts, mental precepts. So not taking others' life is the bodily precepts of body, and not stealing, not engaging in the sexual misconduct. So this kind of precepts you can take from someone else in front of you, through your teacher, before your teacher or your friends. So this is one quality of moral definitions of moral ethic. And second is having pure motivation. Yes. So when you take this precept, you need to have a pure motivation, your willingness of taking this commitment, not by pressure of others, but your own, using your own intelligence, using your own logic, why it is important, what are the beneficial effects of it, what are the advantages of giving this precept, with pure motivation of not harming others. If you harm others, if you kill someone, it will suffer them. So you don't want to see people suffering. You cannot bear suffering of others. So therefore, you want to commit yourself of not taking lives of others. So this is second quality of definitions of moral ethic, having pure motivation, of benefiting others. Then you have third one is renewing one's practice if it declines. And then obviously we are still overpowered by negative afflictions, emotions. We are still under the power of ignorance. So as being ordinary being, even though we take commitment, sometimes there's a risk we break these commitments, isn't it? So therefore, that is why Buddha is so kind. Buddha has given so many choices. You can take 1 day vow, or like Sojong vow, or 1 week vow, or 1 precepts, 2 precepts, 3 precepts, all 5 precepts for the lay practitioners. And slowly, promoting yourself, upgrading yourself, your internal kind of ability of keeping those precepts. Slowly, then next steps will be novice vow, both male and female, and slowly promoting that into bhikshus and bhikshuni vows. So there are many different types of vows, different types of precepts that one can give, and this all is a gradual. Eventually you will be able to upgrade yourself. So these are many, because there are many different sentient beings with different capacities. So likewise, Buddha has presented accordingly. So renewing one's practice, if it declines, so if you break your vow, or if you accidentally kill something, again you renew your commitment. You do sojong every 15 days, in a month. We as a monk monastic system, we have confession period every 15th and 38th day of the month. There we, in front of other bhikshu, we confess them before them. We recall our mistakes and shortcomings, and decline of our precepts. So we ask for forgiveness. and we develop regret and remorse for that act, and then we renew our precepts. So this is what it means by third quality of definitions of moral ethics, is to renewing one's practice if it declines. And finally, the fourth is having mindfulness and respect so that one's practice will not decline. So how it declines, how we break our precepts, how we break our commitments. We do so because of four main reasons. That was what was mentioned by Buddha. First, by not knowing, avidya or ignorance. Second, knowing but without respect to that precepts, not respecting because of our powerful defilements. Thirdly, not being careful, we decline our precepts. This is the third main reason. Then fourth one is the because of having so many defilements, we are not able to clarify our defilements. Because of these four reasons, we sometimes break our vows, we decline our precepts. So for this, what we need to do is we need to have a mindful of all our act. We need to examine ourselves. After taking commitment of not taking lives of others, we need to examine our act every time. We need to be mindful. When you walk, you'll be mindful whether am I stepping some insects or not. This is how you practice your mindfulness. That's why it says here, having mindfulness and respect to that, one's practice will not decline. So that one's practice will not decline. So these are the four different qualities of the definitions of moral ethics. Okay? The four qualities comes under the categories of receiving and protecting. Receiving, that is the first one, receiving these precepts from your guru, and then next followed by keeping them with mindfulness, with good motivation, and if it declines, then you renew them. So these are the four different qualities of the definitions of moral ethics. Okay, so we'll keep here today, and in next session we'll try to understand different classifications or different types of moral ethics. Okay, thank you very much. So namde tamje zekba nye topne nye be danam pamje ne kega nachi balak tubai sebe sole dowa